Greetings all and welcome to Daily Pali Reading. Today our reading comes from the third sutta of the 8th chapter of the Udāna, the first section of which is exactly the same as before, so we will just skip to the Buddha's Udāna, his exclamation. And we're actually just going to read a little bit of this. I've grayed out what we're not covering today. We will focus on just this first sentence, and that will make the rest of the reading much easier. Atti bhikkhave ajatang, abhutang, akatang, asankatang. There is, O monks, the unborn, the unproduced, the unmade, the uncompounded. So before, the Buddha was discussing the non-spatial and non-temporal qualities of Nibbāna, and here the Buddha is discussing its uncaused nature. So we begin again with an atti. There is the third person singular present active indicative of to be. Then we have bhikkhave, our post-positive vocative. O monks, ajatang. So this is unborn. And we can understand this on several levels. In its most literal sense, unborn means not to have come from another being. And by extension, we can understand that this really means not alive. Things that are born are alive, and they actually will at some point die. And so the Buddha is telling us that Nibbāna is not of this category. Then we have abhutang, unproduced or maybe ungrown. Bhuta has to do with natural processes, and it is connected to this Greek word physis, from which we get a word like physical, and in a more restricted sense, the branch of science called physics. So Nibbāna is here being described as something that not only is not born, but it did not come into being, say, like a rock or a mountain. Those are not, we don't typically refer to those sorts of things as being born unless we're speaking metaphorically. So the Buddha is saying that Nibbāna does not have that sort of aspect either. There was nothing preceding it. It is not produced in the way everything else in nature is. Now, I think we could also understand this as maybe unnatural. Since there's this connection to the processes of nature, we could understand this as not natural, meaning supernatural, not in the sense of like a ghost or something that we could interact with but not be able to explain, but something that our senses don't have access to. In fact, Nibbāna is the sort of thing that our senses actively hide from us. Then Nibbāna is described as akatang, unmade. And by unmade, we can understand, by extension, uncreated, not made by any thing or anyone. And then there's asankatang. Now, this is connected obviously with the word sankhara that we come across a lot in the khandhas, like mental formations. Here in this case, Nibbāna is being described as uncompounded, as something not having parts. But also, this can mean not having a cause. So this last adjective can actually be taken as the summation of what came before, or just the basic thesis of this discussion. Uncaused, completely uncaused, unconditioned, uncompounded. The reason this is being pointed out will become clear in our next reading in the next episode. So that is where we are going to leave things for today. Peace, everyone.